Hello, hello. This is Christina, your host today. And today is such a new episode of KSM Podcast, Going Business Online with Christina. But my dear audience, I really I'm so excited today to have my special guest speaker far away from Australia, Lady Abbey Rose. Abby, welcome to the new episode of KSM Podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you very, very much for joining me, and I'm so excited to have you as my special guest speaker today. And I think that you will share such amazing story and some, tips and tricks and everything what you do in your business and life. So, am I not and pronounce good enough your name, Abby?
Yes, Abbey Rose.
I'll be Abby. Tell us a little bit about you. Introduce yourself just for
Oh,
our
yeah, sure.
audience.
Hi. My name
Hi.
is Abbey Rose, and I call myself the spiritual accountant. For the better part of my career in accounting, I spent, about 15 years in public accounting and tax compliance. And then I went through a little bit of a spiritual awakening. I had some challenges, I had some experiences, I had what I would call a tower moment. Things sort of fell away, fell apart. I went through a dark night of the soul, so to speak. And that shifted me onto a completely new trajectory and redefining what financial management is, what accounting is, uncovering truth around our economy, how money is created, how taxes are paid, and I guess what you could call this matrix that we live in. So now I kind of spend my time sharing that information and that education with business owners and change makers and leaders who want to make a difference in the world and change the way things are happening and, step into more financial freedom with that as well. So, I mean, there's not really one way to explain what I do. But I guess I look back on my entire journey and I'm just so grateful that I trusted the process. And now I get to share the wisdom with a lot of people and open the awarenesses and guide into a really new way of doing business. So yeah, it's not linear. It's tangible and it's also intangible. I'm a very practical person though. I like to support with practical real world knowledge and experiences so people can implement some of these spiritual concepts at a practical level.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I've just read your bio, and that you're coming from let's say accounting, for many years work there,
Mhm.
and then you shifted that. Is that correct? To spiritual
Mhm.
accounting. And
Mhm.
can you share with us a little bit your background? You mentioned that, and how did you shift that? What triggered you to
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
creating new business model and move into that, but also connected with the practical side of your
Yeah.
journey or for your
Yeah,
business journey?
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I guess I started in accounting when I was 19. I started as a receptionist in an accounting firm. I fell there by accident, or was it an accident or divine intervention? Um, and I just fell in love with accounting. I fell in love with the numbers. I really loved supporting the owner of the practice, and he taught me a lot. I stepped into some bookkeeping tasks, and I really loved that. And I was helping with preparing financials for tax returns. So I went into the study and I started with a diploma. I finished that and then I went on to university and I enrolled in my Bachelor of Business, majoring in accounting. And I worked my way up the ranks to a point of doing financial preparation and tax return compliance. Um, so as I was completing my studies, I went on to do postgrad studies, and I was two subjects shy from finishing my studies for my tax agent license. And by that stage, I'd built a successful accounting practice and bookkeeping practice, and I had agents working with me, bookkeepers working with me, managing the practice, and built what I believe to be success, or what I thought was success, until a series of events happened in my personal life, which caused chaos in my professional life. And as a result, I was faced with some pretty major financial decisions. Um, I had a lot of marital debt and I had young children, and my husband at the time walked out and left me. And as a result of that, I was looking at filing for bankruptcy. Now, if you're an accountant and you file for bankruptcy here in Australia, they actually strip you of all of your registrations and licenses. So, being so close to finishing my lifelong career objective, um, I was faced with this decision, and my family really pleaded with me not to do it. Continue on, do whatever you can. And to be honest, I was just so drained. I was so burnt out. I couldn't juggle everything. I didn't have any fulfillment. Sure, I was making really great money, but it wasn't worth it at the end of the day. And as a result, I just decided to pull the pin and file for that bankruptcy. But it was a beautiful thing because as I was going through that bankruptcy, I was reading what was happening. And I think this is where like the accountant brain in me switched on. And as I was reading the language that was being used. And when you file for bankruptcy, what happens is they remove you. And when I say they, it's like the financial authority, remove you as trustee and they put someone else in place. And that's when I started to question. I was like, trustee, hang on a second. Trustee, that means there's some kind of trust. And that was the catalyst for learning the truth about our economy. And as I dug deeper, I went down a massive rabbit hole, and the accountant side of me was like, what the hell is going on? And it was like after innocently being indoctrinated into business, commerce, accounting, and tax, I then started uncovering truths about our economy and truths about money and how money is created and how the economy works and what this trust or this Sedeke trust, deceased estate, equity trust insurance policy is, and learning the truth about the public and the private. And it was like the deeper I dug, the more I learned. And then I learned so much that it was one thing to learn these things, but then I needed to see how the practical application of this was actually happening. And yeah, I just went on this massive journey and learnt myself. And I was like, wow, I am exiting this system. I do not agree with this. It is corrupt. And like, not just here in Australia, but globally, we are the asset and they're profiting off human activity. The most valuable resource on the planet is human resources, our energy. So now I help others who want to make a similar decision go down that path in a very practical way. So it's learning about the truth of our economy and the truth of money and the debt mentality, and then learning about public and private sector and deciding where do you want to do business and commerce? Do you want to do it in the public or do you want to move it out private and be governed by completely different laws? Laws of nature, laws of human rights, international laws, and governance that protects the future of humanity.
No,
So, yeah.
it's very interesting, and for many guest speakers, you're very different than other because of your experience and your story and what you do. And it's very interesting I think that audience will be so satisfied with your story because they will learn a lot, especially when you mention just to connect accountant and then you shift it to spiritual accountant. It's a pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
and can you share with us and when you start learning and you know discovering and researching about that, as you mentioned, private sector and
Mm.
public sector, and it was such a space for you to shift something and
Yeah.
change in your life and
Yeah.
have a new approach to the business, to the people, to the human being, let's say, and humility and whatever.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. So the tradition from 3D business structure to 5D, that's what I call it. That's essentially what the shift was. It was looking at what I was doing and how I was operating and why I was in business. And most people go into business to make money, for profit. And I guess the shift into 5D is like, it's this evolution. I feel like the evolution of consciousness and of humanity moving into an advanced civilization. An advanced civilization essentially doesn't need to operate on the principles of money and how money was created. But a lot of people call me crazy for some of those beliefs that I have, but I definitely feel like we are paving the way for the future generation. So this shift it's happening whether we want to admit it or not. So when I moved from traditional accounting practice and into spiritual accounting, it started looking at financial management as an evolutionary process and also as a holistic process. So financial management as your well-being, how you show up as a leader, how you contribute to community, how you give and receive in perfect balance and harmony. And then why are you in business? And it's shifting away from profits and moving towards more people focused. I think there's a lot of outdated business structures and strategies that is so focused on profit that people are sick because of it, or people don't learn what they need to learn because it's about profit, or minimizing cost production and losing quality products and services as a result of making more profit. And I think as we get more towards people focus, we think about the well-being of others. We think about what's healthy, what's natural, organic, what's good for people so that they can thrive and not be sick, not be dumbed down, not be provided with these products and services that essentially are making the rich richer and the poor poorer in so many more ways than just financially, right? So I guess it's that's a big jump for a lot of people. It's reshaping the way that we look at business, but I do see business as the pathway to saving humanity, as crazy as that sounds. And we as leaders in this space have a duty to show up for that. And it doesn't mean you don't get tested along the way. I still have some very 3D business things going on, but my focus and my direction and my passion and my commitment is to that humanity way, is to that impact and that change. So the future generations, our kids and our grandkids, aren't the ones who have to foot the bill for our mistakes.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with you because as we first and foremost, we are human being, and if we don't resonate on that frequency, as you said, how people feel, on their as employee, and sometimes, as you said, we have ups and downs, but sometimes we need to be respected. We need much more. Care about us and reputation and just to respect each other as a human being to the end of the day, and sometimes just to think about how do you feel when someone just like a profit, but we are not machines, we're only human being, and this is what we need. If we don't have such a that or if we don't resonate with that, as you, and I agree and with you, and also I can say that you're like a pioneer, like spearheading something new in this world,
Yeah.
which is amazing.
I always look at it as like I'm the person helping the people who help the people. Yeah, so I feel like whilst yes, pioneering new ways, but I think more of it is like I want to be the permission piece for all the other leaders who want to see change. I am trying to change my own industry, accounting and tax. But there are many industries and many sectors of our economy that need a huge overhaul. So, I mean, if I can change the way we look at finance and business, then, there's other leaders that can change what we do with health, with education, with farming, with resources. There's so wellness, there's so much in those spaces. So, if I can do it in accounting, I'm certain many others can absolutely, and I see others definitely doing it in other spaces. So it's just getting exciting now. We're just at the beginning.
And doing this podcast, for example, I was so shy in front of camera, but I saw that I'm much more passionate about speaking than writing, and I do it for me. For example, my job is my life, is my business, is my love, is everything, and I really love that. And people resonate with that. As you mentioned, we need to be such a good giver. Either that is not, we don't speak about finances, we just speak about human being, just how what we can give to people, how we can support each other to give such a good word or just support or give advice. And through this process of this podcast, I really, really resonate with speakers and learn a lot from them. But also, we're like a big family because we are nurturing each other, and then we can either that we are online and to the different parts of the world, but we can also help each other, just like that someone need the help for health or whatever
Yep.
advice. And
Yep.
this is beauty of this online world also, to
Well,
connect with
yeah.
amazing people.
I see that, right? Because like if you look at 3D business and the old way of doing business, it's all about copyright and protecting your IP and not sharing anything and not, it's like it's mine, it's mine, it's mine, I own it. Whereas in the 5D sense of business, it's more about, what are the resources that we have? How can we pool it and share it? How can we make sure our cup is full so we can give more to others? And it's more of a collaborative approach, and it's like the community rises together. And that's what I see, in the community that I have built. It's like there's so much resources and everyone just wants to help everyone to the best of their capacity that they can, you know. So yeah, I agree with it, and I love all these communities and people working together, and I'm all for it, all for it.
Yes, and you mentioned when you mentioned that we're this is a way how we overcome old business model, like old how people resonate before, you know. And Abby, when you mentioned that, for example, how how you can I don't know say how to say about definition. How do you resonate with leaders? For
How do I
example,
re
nowadays, from by your approach, what you do, like to be as a person, we are all leaders in our business journey, but also how do you and who are you mostly your clients? Who do you mostly work with?
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. So I guess if you look at leadership, right, it's open to interpretation. What does leadership mean even? And I think that you can show up in leadership for yourself. You can show up in leadership for your family. You can show up in leadership for your friends or communities. And I think that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's just how you are with your children or with your family or how you are with a community at large. Now, not everyone has like global communities or massive, but I even work with some farmers and some resource producing families that just want to do better in the world and share those resources. So I guess when it comes to resonating and the type of people that I work with, it's people that see what's wrong in our communities and want to do better. My accounting background, I've worked in all sorts of different businesses. And I find that every sector needs up-leveling. So it's the people who want to see those changes. It's the black sheep. It's the ones that, you know what, I don't have to follow the status quo. I am okay with creating something different if I know that that's what's good or I feel that that's what's going to benefit. It's all about benefits, benefits for the next generation. So, that can be, men in construction that just want to build better resources or electricians that want to create free energy or farmers that want to do organic and the way they grow their crops or the way they handle their animals is different to we've got some environmental research facilities as well and protecting endangered wildlife and we've got wellness and health and wellness is such a huge space. There's so many like doctors, nurses, physios, chiros, energy healers. We've got med beds and technologies coming through as well. I've got so many clients stepping into the space of, cancer being completely healed, and high success rates. Now they can't talk about that because of the public, but we can protect them, right? So the public can't shut them down. So people curing cancers at alarming rates, and this information isn't shared widely, and I get to see it, but it's like I can share it because I'm not, I'm sharing it and not sharing exactly who it is, but I'm telling people I'm seeing this. People are curing brain tumors, breast cancers, bowel cancers at, in the space of very short time. And we've got people in the wellness space that are providing those solutions. So that one's huge in and of itself. And then we've got education too, the education system and schooling and children and nurturing the upbringing of our youth. So yeah, it's just like everyone here has a purpose. Everyone here has a mission. Everyone here has a place in the community, a seat at the table. So it's just figuring out like, what is it that you want to do? What do you want to create? And how do we want to contribute in that way? And you can be totally provided for financially with that. Because if we pull our resources together and we invest into the living and not the dead, then this is where I think we're going to see changes in financial and hierarchical structures in our economy.
Yeah, and this is really amazing, interesting, and very, very educational and really useful for people to get to know it, but just to give them opportunity to be much more open. For example, as you mentioned, cancer, for example, I think all those people after when they overcome that cancer issue or whatever, they start being better people as a human being, and they can give much more to the community. But
For
as you
sure.
said, they need such a great support, and this is very
Yeah,
true.
so this is where I really lean into like individualism, right? I feel like there's a lot of people that are sick, tired, overwhelmed, right? And it's a space of we've got to fill our own cup up first. We've got to heal ourselves of physical trauma, emotional trauma. We've got to start our transcendence, right? But once our cup is full, we then naturally want to provide for our families. And when we and our families are provided for, honestly, it doesn't take much to move into that. But once we are provided for, we then, and our cup starts overflowing, we naturally want to give back to others. So that's where, I want to help people practically with their finances to provide for themselves, provide for their family, and then with the overflow, with revenue producing assets, we can then provide for others.
Sounds great, as a very as an accountant with facts, from your previous business. And Abby, how did you what when you do, as you mentioned, that wellness part and Reiki or whatever you train and learn, can you share with us how are your clients, how do they feel before they connect with you and know you, and after that, just like to share with our audience some
Oh,
just
yeah. Yeah. So I guess I'm a little bit, you know, different, obviously, because I do spiritual accounting. And for me, that's all about your wealth, right? So it's your physical wealth, it's your emotional wealth, it's your spiritual wealth, your frequencies, right? So, I like to support people where they're currently at. But I find that transformation and evolution is education is also required. So I have processes where I educate people. I also help support them emotionally and energetically. So, my background, I've done, shamanic practitioner, my Reiki, Moneki, I've got a long list of modalities. But what I found is the missing component was the practical education. You can affirm your way into confidence and self-worth and high self-esteem as much as you want, but if you don't actually behave in that way, there's going to be a gap. So, what I find when I work with people and you kind of mix all elements, because it is holistic. When I say spiritual accountant, it's holistic financial management. So, it's looking at all of it, your mindset, your energy, and then what practical things are you doing as well. So, when people move into like a 5D business space, it's like all those limitations of like compliance and tax and debts and all of this controversy that's kind of created in that space. We kind of clear all of that emotionally, physically, practically, tangibly, and energetically, right? So just the weight of that burden being lifted and shifted is like you're stepping into new potentialities. And That's a big shift for a lot of people. A lot of fear comes up. So a lot of people sit on the fence and they watch and because they're in fear, right? But fear is the absence of knowledge. So as long as I keep showing up and sharing information and empowering people, there is another way. Eventually I feel that fear and the collective fear will start to diminish. But I've watched many people step into greater levels of financial security and confidence and success, and they feel fulfilled in what they're doing now, moving forward, and they don't feel a slave to the system. They feel like their life has meaning and purpose, and they feel free from that. I think freedom, financial freedom on such a palpable level. And I've experienced it myself, and I witness others doing the same, but don't expect that that journey comes easy. There's some things we got to shift to get there.
And when you mentioned that, when we are talking about wealth and about finances, whatever, but when people start having such a illness, like to be sick or getting, they just learn a lesson, and they can see just that finances could be only tool to help them to move forward, but they forget it. Only wealth for them is to be healthy when they see that they are going to lose it. And this is a point because as we do any kind of industry, we always move, go, just earn money, income, and all those kind of things. But people sometimes forget on their health, and then when they move into that and crashing out with that health, this is something when they just recover and see that they have some, maybe they didn't think about that. What do you think?
Yeah, so health is wealth. And I think your financial health should be just as important because, as I mentioned earlier, the most valuable resource on the planet is human energy, and it's what you do with your human energy, right? So how you give to the world and what your capacity to serve is, and then how you're remunerated for that service, because you can be remunerated for that, for your energy. That's your asset, right? You receive income for your asset. And I think a lot of people are, they have leaky energy, or they don't have boundaries, or they're not speaking their truth and living authentically. So this is where you can have leaks in your energy, or blocks in your energy, or murky waters, right? So no clarity. So when you're looking at your financial health, you have to look at your personal health as well. And, the manifestation of physical ailments comes back to, the emotional response to that too, which then comes back to your behavior, that triggers that emotional response. So, funnily enough, it really is all connected, because how you're showing up and what you're doing affects your energy, and then how you give and receive that energy in your business is how you're making money. So the two correlate, and this is why I feel like the holistic wellness is so important. It should be looked at, and you can gauge what's happening for you based on what's happening in your bank accounts,
This
right?
is
And we
so
can
true.
improve that financial health.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And when you mention, I think that you spoke about it today, but maybe for our audience, just what is the core? Because you mentioned many modalities of Reiki, shamani, other things, NLP, whatever. But what would be the core of a spiritual accountant? Maybe just
for
because.
sure. Yes. Yep. So I guess you would say my gift and modality. I don't specifically use any modalities, but one thing, when my gifts came online, I started to exercise my psychic muscles, and what I found is my ability to read energy. So I can tap into energies, I can read energies, I can shift energies, I can help people hone their energies. But then I can sort of see their soul energy and what their mission, legacy, purpose in life is as well. So I guess I'm an interpreter of that energy. And then I kind of bring my skills into that as an accountant and be like, well, how can we turn this energy then into revenue? And how can we wrap a business model around all of this? And yeah, I guess I've learned a lot around transformation too. So assessing the behaviors, I guess it's just a bit of a mixed bag of lollies, but when I look at my gifts, it's just that energetic ability to read and translate and then communicate in a way for people so that they understand. And oftentimes, a lot of people talk about light language and all those sort of beautiful things. And I usually say to people, I don't speak gobbledygook in light language. It'll come through English and it'll just hit a part of your heart that feels resonates. And if it resonates, then yeah, welcome to the spiritual accounting world. I hope you enjoy the ride.
And when people, for example, come to you, do you have opportunity for like a consultation that people can connect with you on some kind of how I can say it for to start like is your consultation for free for the first time? Like then people wanted to
Yeah, yeah.
connect with you
So
and
yeah, thank you. Yeah, so obviously, in
how,
Australia, I'm one of the most highly sought after accountants now, so I am quite busy, and I get a lot of interest. There's a lot of people, and the more people waking up to this, the more interest comes, which is beautiful. But yeah, I do have a free webinar that I share, and I have free resources, and I have a team of wonderful humans that support me. So yeah, we have some free consultations as well, connection calls, discovery calls. I do free webinars, but the best place to enter my world is through my Facebook Untethered group, and then just start your journey there. I don't do any one-on-ones unless you're in some private spaces with me. But yeah, I love to share on these podcasts and do regular webinars and events and trainings and things. And yeah, just open the door to people.
yeah, so I will put all those links about, and I really would like to join your group as well because,
Yes, yes. So
as you
come join me in
mentioned,
Untethered.
because there are many people and you really don't have time um, to do to do it one one, but also people can join for your Facebook group. And can you share with us, just for listeners, the name of your Facebook group when people can join, for
Yes.
example? I will
Yep.
put all
So
those links as I said, but just maybe some people like to listen more than to read it. But
yeah, absolutely. So my Facebook group is called Untethered. Untethered, and I guess the best way for me to explain that is like we're untethering you from the limitations that society puts us in, from the limitations the government have over us. So untethering can be a very holistic experience. And I'm here to help and support you on that evolutionary journey.
yeah, and this is fantastic for your webinar. And what you mentioned, free resources for.
Mhm.
Do you have it all those things in your group, or just people can
Yeah,
join your
yeah, yeah.
website and
Yep.
maybe find
Yeah, I've
something
got
there?
things all over. I have things all over the place. So I've got conscious cash flow, strategy systems. I've got, yeah, I've got Yeah, lots of resources in the group. Yeah, so that's where I will share things. There's lots of education, and I run my webinar, my free untethered webinar, on a monthly basis. So you can join the next one, or you can catch a replay if you don't want to wait. But yeah, I like to share lots of resources and information. The group's the best place to
And
find
people
it.
can connect with you on Facebook, on Instagram,
Absolutely.
I mean, on LinkedIn.
Yeah. My Facebook is kind of capped, so if you want to head over to my Instagram and follow along, there's no limitation over there. But yeah, I'm constantly sharing on social
Mm.
media and just enjoy sharing in the podcast space as
Yeah,
well.
I really enjoy listening to you today. And as you said, we are all different, we are
Yeah.
all authentic, and we are all unique in this world. And we deserve to create better place for our life and our new, you know, sons, daughters, grandsons, granddaughters, what you mentioned before. And I think that we need to be such a good giver. If you give it, universe getting back from other people. It
For
doesn't
sure.
matter that you give someone, but you can get something from others, just not
In
from the same
perfect
person.
balance. Perfect balance and harmony. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really lovely to. And before we wrap up our call today, and I think that we will connect again because and it looks like a masterclass today. And do you have some final message for our listeners?
Yeah.
Because they're all, we're all in fear. Sometimes we're all, when we wanted to start business or we wanted to change something, or if we are in corporate business, but we want to have business ideas, but we are in stuck just to start something, just for because you're so experienced in that, especially with as a as spiritual accountant on holistic um, level on holistic approach, and this is very interesting. I'm so happy today with you just to share your story.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess just some final words would be like, yes, start, but it's before you start, it's that little spark. It's that I didn't know I was going to be the spiritual accountant, but I remember it was such a in I guess spiritual experience for me when I was at the absolute bottom of, rock bottom, and things just couldn't get any worse. And it was that little spark, this little glimmer of hope. I had no idea what it was, or who it was, or what it even meant, but there was something inside of me that was like, trust that, trust that. And I think I kind of unconsciously made a agreement with the universe to always trust in the co-creation of our ever unfolding journeys. And I use that spark, that divine spark inside of me, that connection to my legacy as my guiding light. And ever since then, it has just put me on a trajectory of growth, wealth, success, fulfillment that I just want everyone else to experience. So, sometimes we don't know the answers, and that's okay. But as long as you trust that little spark, that little knowing inside of you that you know that you're here for something greater, the rest will fall into place. The rest will fall into place. We need to trust ourselves more, um, and believe in ourselves. So, hell, if um, a small time accountant from the town in Bundaberg can make this sort of change, then I promise you that you can too. You just got to trust it.
So if you wanted to change something in your life, just please connect with Abby. She can help you. And so she has her Facebook group and her webinar. So just and I really cannot wait to join your webinar. Just I'm so curious to know more
It's
about it.
beautiful.
Abby, it was such a pleasure having you today. I really, really enjoyed your story. And just feel free to join again whenever, because I have my guest speakers. Sometimes they were twice, three times, and especially if you have something new to share in your life and business and create something new, just feel free to join again. Guest and podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
I really, really enjoyed and I must say that I learned such a new lessons and something new, which is fulfillment for my soul and for my body and my mind. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining me and have a fantastic day and see you very soon. And I wish you a lot of success, whatever you do and whatever you think about. And join us again with new story and whatever you create in meantime. Thank you again and have beautiful day. And bye for now. Bye.